Welcome to episode 173 of The Numbers Game. I'm Jason. I'm here with Nick. How are you, Nico?
I'm good. Feeling lonely. No Marty. Feel lost. Feel lost.
that's-
Haven't got the dulcet tones of Marty Vidakovic, but we've got someone who I think might just outdo Marty on the IQ stats. So yeah, I'm pretty. I'm only just. I'm pretty pumped for today's episode. How are you, mate?
Mate, I'm good. Just depending on when this all goes live, but not long before I fly out to London. We've got the London Marathon coming up. So excited, pumped, up and about. But you know what? More excited for this conversation for now because I'm just focusing on 1 hour at a time until I get on that plane. And you've brought in a really interesting guest for us. Why don't you give us a bit of a background and introduction on who our guest is today, Nick?
Yeah, cool. Well, I'll let him give the background, but we've got Grant Austin from pay.com.au, which is a reasonably new business that's making waves, and it's an interesting business that I think a lot of SMEs will find value in learning more about. So not only about the business, but also just the journey of how the business was created and how they've grown so quickly. So welcome, Grant Austin. How are you, mate?
Very well, thanks. Thanks for having me, gents. Great to be on the podcast.
No worries. And look, we're obviously going to rip into the business stuff, mate, but keen to just get a bit of background on yourself, career-wise, and whatnot, and how did you end up in the current business, pay.com.au?
I'm a chartered accountant by trade, so Jace, you'll be happy to hear that.
In great company.
Yeah, started off in the chartered accounting world and worked in mergers and acquisitions for the first 7 years of my career at Grant Thornton and then PricewaterhouseCoopers after that. Loved that space, learned a lot. It was awesome, and but kind of soon realised that I kind of enjoyed being active in business and kind of being operational and kind of inputting into business rather than come in, do some consulting, disappear, and kind of never see what actually happens after that. So after I left the kind of consulting space, I moved into Wesfarmers in their digital and data area, which would commonly be referred to as flybys, to their loyalty space, which was fantastic. I really enjoyed being in that space. Obviously, it took me out of my comfort zone. Kind of being a numbers guy, but I worked kind of in the strategy team there on some pretty cool stuff, how to kind of, work in the digital media world around monetization of data. I worked in payments and looking at how we could, the loyalty program and flybys could interact in the payment space through digital wallets and that sort of stuff. And obviously got a really good understanding of kind of the loyalty space and how that all works. So, fascinating experience and love that. And from then, I actually ended up working in a digital marketing startup out of the US, a tech business that helps kind of with those loyalty programs, monetizing, data assets into the digital marketing world. And that again was fascinating. That was kind of connected to what I did in the Wesfarmers space. And then, interestingly enough, a friend of mine from the mergers and acquisitions world back, when I was doing that stuff, had just acquired a business called Point Hacks. So a couple of guys who are ex iSelect were doing that. They'd kind of rapidly doubled the size of that business after kind of acquiring it. It was going gangbusters. And he called me up and knew I had a bit of background in that space and said, hey, we're looking at how we grow this business, which ultimately led into me doing some kind of strategic consulting work and then, kind of working with some ideas, which pay.com.au was kind of the number one recommendation. And they were then fortunate enough to seed that opportunity with some capital and kind of separate it out. And we ended up building it to kind of where we are today, which is we've signed up over 15,000 customers, which is pretty exciting. We've done just about 3 billion in payments in the short time we've been around and kind of going from strength to strength. So pretty exciting, but that's the kind of snapshot of where I've come from.
I think I've always got this joke about CAs versus CPAs, Grant. I think you're ruining my joke because I usually say that the P in CPA stands for personality and that CAs usually, I'm not going to go there. A lot of great CAs in the world and you come across as someone with a great personality. Definitely got the ability to capture me so far. And mate, the journey in the background sounds, I love seeing career progression or the evolution of someone to be able to use what they're learning and continue to evolve into that next space and, highlight ideas or gaps in the market and things like that. So Just to go back a bit for now, pay.com.au, for anyone out there who hasn't come across it, great catchy name, because straight away, I mean, people are going to punch in pay.com.au and go and check it out. How does it work? What exactly is it and what do people use it for?
Yeah, look, we're a B2B payment platform, predominantly in the kind of payable space, although we're doing a few other things around that. And what we do effectively is we make the payables payment experience really seamless, and we add a rewards element to that. So people will be familiar with credit card rewards. A lot of business owners use credit cards to earn rewards. We started off effectively facilitating B2B payments where you otherwise wouldn't be able to use a credit card, and then built out a rewards proposition, I guess similar to like an American Express rewards, but you don't have to have a credit card, you don't have to have an American Express, and have kind of built out that rewards proposition ourselves. So we basically do any payment kind of across all the business side of things, and we kind of say any way. So whether you want to pay on a credit card or through a bank payment, we can do all of that. It's all integrated into one seamless platform, integrated into Xero, so the reconciliation process is quite seamless. And yeah, as I said, we make that payment experience really seamless with that kind of differentiation and moat with the rewards proposition. So we've built out that rewards proposition to have airline partners, but you can also redeem for pretty much anything through our platform. And we pride ourselves in making sure those redemptions and the rewards are redeemed for at great value.
So I guess the problem, or I guess the problem you're looking to solve in the market was the only real way you could get the reward program happening, or the existing reward programs were all based around credit cards. Whereas with what you do, I don't have to have a credit card. I can just, I guess, log a list of payables, send it to you. You make those payables happen. If there's no credit card, I assume you debit a bank account, and then there's rewards for how much is spent. Is that around about right?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously we do all the credit card payments as well. You can make any of those payments, allowed for by the credit card companies. They set certain rules. So you can earn your credit card rewards through us on payments you otherwise wouldn't be able to make. And then, as you said, absolutely, you can make bank payments, upload your ABA file or sync in with Xero, make those payments through a linked bank account, which we perform verification on when you add it into your pay.com.au, call it digital wallet for want of a better word, and then earn rewards along the way.
I'm just curious on, you look at the market and you go, okay, well, Amex are doing it, and you mentioned maybe some others. Like, what was the moment where you went, no, this is going to work and we'll do it this way? Like, how do you, obviously, apart from the credit card stuff, what is it that differentiates you mainly from Amex, an existing provider out there?
We call ourselves the Switzerland of payments and rewards, in that we basically work with all payment methods. We're not only Amex, and similarly from a rewards perspective, we want to work with all rewards partners so that people can be redeeming for the things that they want. We're not specifically tied into one provider, etc. So when you say there's people out there doing this stuff, well, yeah, there's people doing bits and pieces of what we do. There is a couple of businesses around that do just the credit card piece that I've talked about. We were kind of the first to really do the rewards with bank payments, and obviously bringing that all together. And then with our real kind of differentiation in market is I guess our rewards proposition, which has taken some time and a long time to build out all these rewards partners, and kind of the way we do that is pretty much unique in market to what we do. No one else was doing that on bank payments previously, but obviously Amex doing bits and pieces around that. But again, Amex is call it a credit card working capital company that has a good rewards program. We've kind of taken bits and pieces from different areas and put it all together into one seamless ecosystem, we call it.
I definitely do like the idea of like that ecosystem, that login point where you can see and choose what you're doing. I mean, go into it a little bit as we keep expanding, but seeing customers or clients of Future Advisory using pay.com.au and how, could be used to pay wages and then it debits off the Amex, and you buy yourself 30 or 60 days. You get some points kind of doubling up here, there, everywhere. And it could be ATO payment, could be a super fund payment, could just be standard, pay the materials bill, whatever it is. But yeah, it does create some pretty cool flexibility. I was going to say, mate, I was doing a bit of LinkedIn stalking before we jumped on and noticed the AFR Fast Starter list. You came in at 16th, which is an absolutely amazing achievement. So congratulations and well done.
Thank you.
I'm interested in, the day-to-day life of a business that grows that fast. I mean, Nick, Marty, and I often sit back on the podcast. We hear from our customers that talk about scaling and growth being one of the most difficult things that you can do in business. To be on the fast starter list, I assume growth is manic and crazy and a bit chaotic. Talk to us about, what it is like working in a business that is growing at such a rapid rate.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, to be honest, it's one of the things I love about it. It's, there's a million things going on all the time. The biggest thing I think, to be successful with growing fast growth companies is just around prioritization. There's a million things we could be doing. It's the same with our product. It's the same with, what we could be focusing from, our sales function, our marketing function. It's, what's going to shift the dial the most and make sure we, come back to prioritizing, what are the key top 3 things we can be doing to shift the dial. But it's an exciting environment. We've, been around for a short window of, really 4 years. And, we're kind of just pushing up to just over 60 staff now. And, even that in itself is huge. Where last year we had probably 30 staff. Now we've got 60. Just the infrastructure and the change that comes with that, and working with all those people who have their own careers and livelihoods, and kind of working with that. That's a huge part of it. But I think it's being involved in innovation. Having an idea and bringing something to life and making it happen and seeing it have a difference is the exciting part of it. But it's definitely a fun thing to do, which I love.
I love what you said there around the prioritization, because we're 16 years into business now, and it's only, I think, the bigger you get, just the more opportunities that come your way, and the more things you've got to deal with. And we're only talking last week around bringing in a quarterly. We've already got a quarterly meeting, but bringing into that with each department, what's the one thing that's not negotiable for you this quarter? Obviously, you've got all these other things you're focusing on, but out of all those things, there might be 3 there. What's the one thing that you have to do, to your point, to shift the needle? And I'm kind of only just realising that now, that sometimes we can get caught up in so many things, but we really can only tick off 1 or 2 things in a quarter. So just how do you determine, just to get a bit more granular on that, how do you determine what's going to shift the needle from a process point of view? Do you have leadership meetings where you sit around, you look at all the things that have got to be done in 12 months and you pick 2 or 3 of them off? I know it's a pretty basic question, but it's something that we've been through ourselves. So
yeah, you're spot on. It's like, we're always trying to get down the list of all the things we could possibly do, and then it's a function of filtering those out and trying to put some kind of science and thought behind what's the size of the prize, what's the thing that's going to, as I said, move the needle the most. Kind of getting it down into we really think this will move the needle more, and sometimes there's financial modelling involved, but obviously when it's just changing a process, it might not be that sophisticated, but often it requires a bit of a gut feel judgment call, and hopefully the experience you've had helps you make the right call about that. But it's never a pure pure science in my view, but it's definitely something that you've got to continually work on. And if you start doing something and you realise it's not going to move the dial, then you've got to be bold enough to pull the pin and not just say, hey, we chose to do this, follow through. It's like quickly test and learn stuff. If it's working, roll it out and give it everything. And if it's not working, then say, hey guys, this isn't working, let's kind of push this aside and get onto the next thing. But it's you make mistakes along the way and hopefully you learn every time.
Jason, I know you've got some clients that are using pay.com.au. How's that going for them? And look, one of the other things I'd like to do as we're talking about this is, I know we've kind of talked about what you do, Grant, but maybe just an actual example. So for all of our business owners at home, I could use, if I've got a GST debt of 30K, I can pay I can pay that through pay.com.au. I can get this many points, and then that means I can go and do whatever I need to do with those points. So, yeah, Jace, maybe, just how are your clients finding it? Because I know you got some big clients that are using the system or the business.
Look, I think the ones that are using it have gone, this is awesome. Pretty like the easeability of the interface of uploading things, one easy login, the ABA file upload, syncing into Xero to make your accountant's life or your bookkeeper's life easy. But like a real life example might be, big businesses often have cash flow crunches where you've got a whole bunch of accounts receivable, a whole bunch of accounts payable. And you might be at a point where it's like, look, we've got enough cash. We could pay wages or we could pay the ATO in full right now, but we've also got a credit card or a credit, what do you call it? Like a working capital, Amex, all these different kind of card providers do different things and call different things. But you might be able to access money for 30 or 60 days interest free on your Amex, for example. So rather than emptying out your cash from your bank account, you can ease the cash flow crunch, chuck it through pay.com.au, comes off your Amex, and all of a sudden you've got 30 or 60 days to wait for those accounts receivable to come in, almost like the trade finance app we talked about the other day, Nick. But yeah, it just allows for easeability and making, I guess, gives you options and choices as well. And then beyond that, I mean, there's the excitement of, I've got a business partner, Greg, who we've spoken about many times before, loves to gamify things, loves points, loves different hacks. Note the name of the other business, Point Hacks, loves to be able to just know that he's getting a little win out of something. So, we do a lot of business trips around the country. We've got an office up on the sunny coast. We had a partner over in Perth, and often, would be digging into our own pocket and paying cash for flights. Now, as part of our day-to-day business, using Future Advisory as a real example, if we can be paying for different things using pay.com.au, running up some points on our account, and then rather than paying cash for the flight to the sunny coast for me to go and work up there and meet clients or work with my team member, I can book everything on points, which again helps Future Advisory save on a bit of that cash that I would have otherwise been shelling out to pay for a flight. I think there's absolute wins in that way. And we've seen examples where clients have, been able to access different benefits, like I said, golf clubs and different things like that. So happy people that are doing it. I mean, of course, there's fees and charges and GST and different stuff involved, but when you work out the difference, like what I've paid in some pay.com.au fees, I would have been well and truly more out of pocket to pay for the flights over to Perth or up to the sunny coast, for example.
Yeah, it's a good point, Jace. I think economics is key to this. As you say, we charge a fee, you're paying a fee. We have the confidence in our customers always getting greater value in terms of what they're getting out of it than the fee they're paying. But making sure you're doing that and making the economics work for you as a business owner and your business is absolutely critical to that. And the working capital example of helping you fund cash flow, etc. when times are tough or you're going through a fast growth phase where sometimes you've got payments that are coming quicker and you haven't quite collected the cash yet is a really good example too. I was talking to a customer on Friday about that exact thing, and often you don't hear enough. Some people are doing it because they like the points more and they get the benefit out of that. But working capital is key for some businesses, and it's a great kind of benefit for what we offer to customers.
Yeah, we did a whole episode. I don't know when it was, a couple of weeks ago, on trade finance and just trying to educate people on what's out there. But I definitely have spoken to many businesses that use the Amex purely from a working capital point of view. Because depending on your account, you can float costs for sort of 60 to 90 days.
Same with the cash flow of when you're buying airline tickets, etc. Like I'm going to the US for the Money 2020 conference later this year, and I'm managed to get business class flights with Qantas. No cash flow outflow for the business, but I get to go over there and go in business class over to the US on a long haul trip, which is saving us the cash outflow at the time for an early stage business growing rapidly. We're very conscious of how we use our cash, etc. So that was a great outcome.
It's super clever, and on that, hopefully, then there's something you can unpack as to the economies of how it works a little bit behind the scenes. But the partnerships that pay.com.au has is obviously absolutely crucial to the success of the business. And I think we've also done past eps on partnerships and why partnerships are important. And sometimes in professional services land we talk about referral partners. Now, when pay.com.au started, I imagine the first time you walk into a room and ask Qantas to become a points partner, I don't know whether that conversation is easy and it happens straight away, but when it comes to getting all those partnerships on board, can you take us through a bit of the journey of, it's a startup 3 or 4 years ago. Nobody knew what pay.com.au was. How do you get people to trust you to align their brands with what you were doing? And then once that partnership happens, is there kind of behind the scenes ways you monetize it for you guys, monetize it for them? Or, where's the win-win-win for you, the brand partner, and then the customer?
Yeah, look, it's a great question, and you hit the nail on the head in terms of when we started out with this, growing this business. Obviously, as I said, we started accepting cards and making payments on cards, but we quickly wanted to build out our own rewards proposition, and you can't just turn that on overnight. It's as you said, you've got to be banging on the door of Qantas, who's the biggest player by far and has the most power in this space, and the most adoption in the Australian market. Everyone knows what a Qantas point is. Most people are members of Qantas frequent flyer. So, you've got to start off with a good proposition for customers. And that was critical to get us going. And, it wasn't an easy journey. As you say, you're a startup, when you're dealing with one of the biggest organisations and corporate organisations in Australia, a startup with no, track record is banging on the door saying, hey, do a partnership with us is a big ask. And, we're obviously very thankful that they, took a gamble with us. And, I'm sure they would say this as well, but they are, absolutely blown away by the performance that we've delivered them as a business. I think they had no idea that we would grow as quickly as we had and deliver to them what kind of we were preaching at the time when we didn't have a customer on our books. But it took a long time. It takes these deals with these big corporates when you're a nobody. It takes a long time. It's about building trust. I was fortunate enough to have a bit of relationship with some of the guys from previous life that I was able to get in, talk to the right people to get the things moving. But it doesn't happen overnight. You've got to pitch and sell the opportunity and back yourself to deliver on that. And we were able to get there. But it's been a huge journey, starting off with Qantas, but then we've got Virgin, Qatar Airways, Singapore Airways, like even those international airlines. We signed up Singapore, really before we'd even kind of launched Qantas. So it's not like they said, "Oh, Qantas have done the deal, so they must be okay." We had to work pretty hard to do that, but we knew that Singapore Airlines in the reward space is a great proposition for customers who want to redeem points, particularly flying into that European route. It's a great airline, great product. But the best thing about Singapore Airlines, typically most people know in this space, is that, if you want to book a business class premium cabin seat, they've often got the best availability. You can find the seats, at a time when you want to go. And the value of the points are really good. So, we knew them. They were a critical kind of pillar to our rewards proposition. And again, we worked pretty hard to get in there, convince them, struck a deal. And I think often it comes down to, you can get them interested, and then it's the art of negotiating the deal that's going to work for all parties, right? So, how can you think about ways to structure an arrangement where, even from a pricing perspective, for example, these airlines basically sell points to partners. Effectively, that's how it works. So we with some of them, we have a scaling volume scaled pricing arrangement. So we backed ourselves to get to high volumes pretty quickly. So we knew that we could make the economics work on our side, and things like that, working for them, work for us, etc. So it's been a huge journey, and some of these airlines take a long time to deal with all the the different layers of management you got to get it through, and a lot of stuff around, cyber security is big for these guys. They got to, make sure they're comfortable in your systems, and that, cyber security and privacy are utmost importance. And they put you through the ringer and put, big, strong wording in contracts around this. So, we were able to prove that what we did stacked up in a corporate scale and a global scale, and they were happy to do the deals. But great question.
Yeah, I can only imagine, like, cyber's a big thing for our business at our level. So I can only imagine what kind of scrutiny you're under from a business like Qantas. And on the other side, if you can talk about it, but I think you've also done deals on the other side where you're dealing with potential businesses, customers as well, where not just the reward supply, but you're sort of kind of gaining access to SMEs through other groups that are bringing you on as an approved, I guess, resource. Is that's happening as well? So that you don't have to mention the companies if you don't want to, but you're going into big businesses as an accredited supplier.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're trying to do more and more of that. Probably a simple version of that is, we've got an arrangement with Xero where we're approved a payment partner, for want of a better word, and that obviously is we work collaboratively around acquiring customers, etc. They've got a pretty standard process of doing that, but we're doing a number of other partnerships, some of them smaller, working with associations exactly, but as well. But we're starting to do more things with kind of bigger brand names, as you say, but that are more of a kind of that referral partnership type style of arrangement. So the same kind of rigor goes into those type of deals as well. When these big brands are working with small business like us, needing to make sure that they've got the right, they're not working with a fish and chip shop, for want of a better word.
I guess on the topic of pitching and getting big businesses on, I guess at the same time when you're trying to grow as quick as you are, and you are growing as quick as you are, and I might just mention too, 16th on the AFR fast starter list, but you were second on the Deloitte list this year, I think. So kudos.
Yeah, I was going to mention that before when Jason mentioned that. I wasn't
No,
sure if he was hiding that for a different reason, but number two on the Deloitte fast.
I
tech.
like to let Nick have a few things to throw in too. I mean, sometimes I try and make it all about me, but I've got to let Nick have his time to shine too.
Thank you. Yeah, well, we mentioned 16th. We better mention number two. So just on the pitching process. And growing a business, it takes capital. And I think for a business like yours, unlike a lot, it takes a lot of capital to create what you're creating versus someone out there who's, providing a service and getting paid. You're kind of building a lot of infrastructure and whatnot prior to getting the reward, for pardon the pun. But so seeking investment, I think you've gone to market a couple of times and raised money. Keen to unpack that. Like I know you present to investors and obviously try and sell them where you think the business can go and get their money. But anything you can tell us on the mechanics behind that, like what does it actually entail? Are you going to groups that have access to money, or are you going to investors yourself? And what do you have to put in front of these businesses? Particularly what interests me is when businesses go back numerous times. So you've obviously got to show metrics you're trying to hit, and you need to hit them, and then you probably go to the market again for more money. So just your experience around that. And it's got to be a difficult thing, asking people for money and getting buy-in, I guess, particularly in the early stages without too many runs on the board. I'm
fortunate enough to have some really good, strong board members who are very good in that space. Well connected. They've done it many times before. So some great guidance from them. But it's as you say, it's a huge process. I can't tell you the number of times we've worked on the pitch deck to investors. That is critical to get that story right and making sure it's a seamless pitch or meeting or whatever, that you can get the key points across really seamlessly and quickly. Obviously, we have our business is a little bit complicated to talk to, in the way we operate, versus more simple businesses, and I guess what they're doing and how they come about. But we've refined that over time, and we spent hours and hours and hours refining the deck, even the number of pages, what's the story is on that, and you get better and better as you do it more. So in the early days, we're probably a bit rusty around the edges, but we kind of learned from what resonated, what didn't resonate. And we've been fortunate enough to bring on some really big cornerstone, fairly well-known family offices, for want of a better word, or high net worth individuals that have supported us. And, I think, so far would look and be very, very happy with kind of the results we've achieved. So yeah, look, it's a huge process. We have a quarterly shareholder update, which we anyone can dial into as a shareholder, and we have a great process for providing information back to those shareholders as well, which is good. Um, and look, we've been, as I said, we've maybe done a little bit unorthodox in terms of chase. We've got quite a number of investors, but they're that kind of high net worth kind of individuals who can follow on. We've stayed away from the kind of venture capital funds, but we're probably now at the next phase would be much larger, kind of capital raise style check process, and we try and work with one or two large players who might kind of come in and take out a 10-20 million dollar check, as opposed to kind of smaller amounts for a number of investors. But yeah, it's been a huge journey, but as I said, fortunate enough to have some guys who are absolute gurus in the space and very well connected.
And just one more question on that. Do you feel do you feel like a load of responsibility? Like I'm just thinking about myself, and if we ever borrow money, we just go to the bank, so I don't feel that responsible. But I think if I had shareholders, like, does that weigh on you? Obviously, business is business, but is that something you think about? Shit, these people are giving me money or giving us money. We've got to deliver here. Does it stress you at all?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's probably, one of the things, particularly in the early days when, we were just really an idea. Obviously, we had customers, but, you're talking about forecast numbers and you look yourself and think, can we hit these? They're big numbers. And we look back now and go, geez, we absolutely blew them out of all the investor decks we put together. We've basically blown the numbers out of the water. So, you have confidence over time. You go, not easy, but you know what I mean? But in the early days, I remember when we were raising capital, the first, early stages, you have to give people a sign of what you can do in the future. And sometimes, when you haven't got the track record or run rates to prove it, you can do it by doing the right things. But, seeing it on paper and, as you say, going around, people putting money in, no one likes to go and tell someone that, the investment's not worth as much as they put in. Thankfully we're nowhere near what we've, having to have any of those conversations. It's been a very positive story for us, but I know, I've been involved in investments myself where, you invest in things and they don't go to plan, and, kind of they're receiving negative news about that. So, it's definitely something that keeps me awake at night. I don't always want to do a good job for the people who have backed us. And as I said, we're thankful to have done a great job. And I think there'd be all our investors today would be very happy with kind of where we're at and what we've achieved.
Yeah, definitely not complaining there, Grant. Very, very happy. The little T's and C's there is that through future, we do have a little shareholding in pay.com.au. Just fortunately,
I thought you were one of the cornerstones, were you? That's what I heard.
Yeah, just major shareholder. Basically, the podcast is just going to be my little hobby now, and I don't have to work ever again. No, just kidding. I bloody wish.
We're very thankful, Jace.
And I know I like what I do. I like working. Us as accountants, absolutely love what we do. Now, just for a bit of background for those at home, there's the Tech Fast 50 winners, and that's where pay.com.au came second at a growth of 5,063%. So not a small number there. And I bring that into the question to say, with that kind of, maybe it brings on some pressure. There's some huge growth year on year. Maybe you raise 20, 30 million. But looking at the product over the last couple of years and thinking about innovation and technology and the speed of how things, can come and go in certain tech markets where things get gobbled up, how can you see the product evolving over the years? Does it need to stay the same? Do you need to keep innovating and evolving? And, is there anything you can share that gets you excited over the next couple of years for the product and innovation?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, it's probably one of my, not biggest frustrations, but, as we were saying before, prioritization, one of the things I struggle with the most is, trying to work out, well, what of all the things we could be doing, how are we going to truncate that down into stuff that's actually achievable with the resources we've got. Obviously, if we raise another 20 million of capital, we can build out kind of development team and do more stuff, which obviously we want to do, but you've got to get the results to do that. But we have a huge backlog of both ideas, but also product roadmap and initiatives that we want to kind of do and achieve. So we've got a number of exciting things happening. Some are just high level ideas, whether they go ahead or not, it's still to be determined, but we're working through kind of, the business cases around those, what the returns might be, what the tech development side of things would look like. But some of that is in the reward space about, building out an exciting rewards proposition that's more seamless and automated. Things like, for example, having our own pay card where you could walk into any merchant and redeem your pay reward points at any, kind of Visa, MasterCard accepting merchant, which is pretty cool in real time, be able to check the balance of your points and, buy something in a shop that, you couldn't otherwise do with some points, which is pretty exciting. A bit of water to go under the bridge in terms of, what that looks like and how that works, etc. So that's, not definitive, but it's an exciting thing that we're working on. Things like FX payments, receivables payments, and some other kind of big initiatives. And they're the big kind of cool, a couple of step out opportunities that we're working on. And, every day our customers are feeding back information around other things that they'd like within the platform, which, don't sound so big and sexy, but, the more we build out the proposition to make that payment experience seamless, that rewards experience seamless, we'll get customers using us more and, spread the word more. In the early days, one of the biggest things I was stressed about was like, you've got to build a product enough to test it and prove out, kind of product market fit. But there's so many things we knew we needed to do and wanted to do. And there's the balance of like, well, when do you launch it into market? When's it ready enough to put it in front of a customer? And I was always thinking, oh, I want to do this and this, but you can spend, years building tech and then, get it out to customers and might not work. So it's always been a fine balance of, kind of getting stuff out to customers, getting to use it, and then knowing that, you're going to add to that build on it, which will bring in more customers over time. For example, one of the things we're working on at the moment is around dual authorization. Some people, with their banking apps have very strict rules within their businesses around dual authorization, etc. Like some, kind of institutional and business banks have. We need to start to effectively operate like a bank from that perspective around, we already do from a cybersecurity and security perspective, but, things like features like, making sure dual authority on transactions and certain things, and people can set rules. So, that's a feature that's the guys are working on and will be coming very soon.
Even in my head, I've got like, I'm not in the business and, but I sit there going, oh, like I'd love to be able to like tap and go like a card inside my Apple wallet that I could actually go and make a purchase for and have it set up to debit off my Amex, but it goes to my pay.com points. My brain ticks. And I can only imagine if you're immersed in it every day, how many ideas and things people are coming up with in the environment you're working in. So no, it's cool.
And obviously you want to prioritize customer features, but then the other thing is when you're scaling up a tech business as well, you've got to like in the back end, the things that people don't see, you need to automate, scale up, all those type of things as well. And it's a bit of a, chicken and egg thing around how you constantly balancing the resource development into developing customer-led features whilst also, making it automated and seamless in the back, it's just scalable in the back end, whether that's operational process, we've got a separate platform that runs our operations that, our operations team in the background that are reviewing payments, reconciling all that type of stuff. That's actually a separate platform, which the guy, in the early days, that was just a part of the, front end customer platform.
Yeah, it's cool stuff. It's a bit different to what I'm dealing with every day. Making sure loan applications get filled in start to finish. But anyway, just if we could touch just briefly on the ATO stuff. I know some people question the whole point system and how does the ATO see it, because you're spending business expenses to get points and then possibly, to Jason's point, using those points for a set of golf clubs, which sounds pretty good to me. But so from what I understand, and Jace, you might chime in here, but the ATO's got some rulings on this where there's people don't need to worry, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I think, Grant, maybe you share your side for pay.com.au, with the private rulings and whatnot, or the previous one that relied on, and then I might expand in a loose way as well.
Yeah, sure. First and foremost, before I answer that, I mean, there's a couple of things. Is like, our rewards proposition can be used, and is actively by a lot of customers in the majority of cases used for business type expenditure as well. So it's not all about, using them for personal, etc. So there's that aspect of it I wanted to just highlight as well. But yeah, as you guys said, there's we went. We've got a number of tax and legal advices around that, just to make sure, as a business and board, we want to make sure we're not, doing anything that's not right. So we've got a lot of people looking at it from that perspective and giving us the confidence that, what we do and the product we offer customers isn't, breaking any legislation rules around this type of stuff. But to go directly to your point, I think there is some tax rulings or guidance that they've taught specifically about rewards points, frequent flyer points, etc. I think it was back in 2004. Jason, you might be able to quote the exact number or reference, but I don't know it off the top of my head. But there is a guidance that was released around, for employees, using points, I guess in a personal capacity. It was, anything. I think they call it the safe harbors, 250,000 points per year per entity. And so, obviously that's back in 2004, and there's arguments to say that, index that, kind of 20 years on, and there's today's number for that. But that's kind of the point where, the ATO have said, look, that's just, it's not even something that we'd look at type thing. I think beyond that, obviously that people who may get audited for this type of stuff may have some questions about that. Look, I'm not specifically aware of any customers who had any particular issues on that, but I think if you kind of generally operate around that level, as I said, you sit within that safe harbor that the ATO's kind of happy with. But yeah, look, it is an area we understand people have those questions about it. When obviously we're not tax advisors. Speak to Jason. He's the man that can answer that and give you some specific guidance. But we know customers who have been through FBT audits, etc., and it's never been an issue. Yeah.
So for anyone who's as like full nerd as me and wants to get into it, it's PSLA 2004/4. So it's a general.
I knew you'd have it.
Yeah, so a bit of a ruling there. And ultimately it talks about, rewards received under a consumer loyalty program. Basically, if you can demonstrate that the reward is received as not as part of income earning activity, so you're spending money on expenses, then there's no connection to it needing to be taxed for FBT purposes. Same thing if you give a flight reward to an employee, as long as it's, not in lieu of remuneration. Again, it's kind of like in FBT land, there's always these little things and you got to check through. But if I give someone a $250 gift card for employee of the month, it's under the $300 FBT limit. It's exempt from fringe benefits tax. So you kind of just got to apply some logic to it. If all of a sudden you're probably giving an employee a, $5,000 round the world, business trip, and it had nothing to do with work, maybe potentially you might need to look into it and just go, is there a tax implication? But again, have a look at the ruling, talk to your accountant if it's not me, and just make sure you're all happy. But if not, it's still just an absolute killer program to be able to get behind and get some benefits out of. Love answering fun tax questions, so we always kind of find a way to work into the numbers game. Let's take it back to a couple of last fun questions for you, Grant, before we wrap up today. If I understand this correctly, PointHacks, pay.com.au, and then Zift, which is another startup. I believe you guys all work in the same environment, if that is correct.
Correct.
What's that environment like, and what's getting you excited for the future? What's kind of something that's, that you know about, that you're up and about for?
Oh, that's a big question. First and foremost, we work out of a little hub. Our major investor and chairperson is the major shareholder in each of those businesses. So we've got a really fun environment that we work in. Our office in Elstonwick. It's good. I think the thing that excites me about that environment is that, Damien is a huge entrepreneur. He's got a million ideas every day, which is a great, thing to be a part of. I think the collaboration across these different startups and businesses is pretty cool. Whether that's, marketing, et cetera, there's a lot of, cross collaboration, whether it's data science, where we've got a data science resource that kind of is across all the different businesses, and kind of pushing our own resource in that space, and giving some guidance and suggestions, and even for me, just someone to talk to who's a specialist in that space. They're all very techie, very data science driven, etc., which is cool. And marketing, we've got some marketing gurus in here, and big part of our success has been the way we've delivered effective marketing, performance marketing, kind of in that space. So. I think that's generally it's pretty cool. There's what's exciting. I think that as you guys would know, AI is a big topic. It's constantly talked about it. We're working on what extra new things we can do to be innovating. Even Nick and I have had separate conversations on how do we leverage AI and what we do there. We're working in our marketing and data cloud solution at the moment around how we can bring in AI and automation into even just the simple way we kind of create marketing audiences to automate and push into, the digital marketing platforms, etc., and kind of use templates, etc., to automate the process of building out call it a personalized marketing email comms to our customers. Which is pretty cool. But there's so many different use cases for AI. It's it's a bit of a minefield and a new area that everyone's struggling to battle with. But we do have some cool resources internally that we kind of use. That you mentioned Zift as a business that's doing some pretty crazy cool stuff around price comparison for consumers. Which they've got some kind of boffins down there that we kind of leverage off and bounce some ideas off. So I think that's some pretty exciting stuff in that space.
I was at a rooftop party for the Formula One and met Damien, and I was drinking a Corona, and he pulled out his phone. He goes, "Have you seen the Zift scanner app?" And I was like, "Nah, no idea." And he pulls out his phone, scans the barcode of my Corona, and showed me all the air, like near us, where was the cheapest place to get a slab of Coronas from, just from scanning the barcode. I was like, you know what? In a time of like rising inflation, costs going up, rents going up, everything else, I'm like, if people are looking for a deal, and there are people out there that love looking for a deal. So
100%.
little quiet shout out for Zift, ZYFT. If you haven't heard of it, go and check it out. You can add it to your Google Chrome browser. So if you're an online shopper like Greg and you're trying to buy the latest set of Nikes, chuck it in there. Sorry, Nick. Just going all pluggy.
Just plugs everywhere, mate. I love how you've managed to get Future Advisor in here and Zift, and no doubt you're invested in that too. So, but anyway, that's what we're here for.
We had a customer who redeemed some points for an investment in Zift.
Yep. They may have been a future advisory client.
I think so. I wasn't sure I should mention that, but that was pretty cool. So, and that shows the flexibility of our rewards program. You can redeem for anything. So,
that leads well into Nick's question.
Yeah. So I think the final questions for the day. And yeah, you're right. Perfect lead-in. But what's the craziest thing you've seen someone use their points for? And there's some suggestions here that maybe someone has used points for gold bullion. Golf clubs, well, that's boring compared to gold bullion or an investment in another business. There's a divorce settlement is listed here. So what's the most out there thing you've seen as far as someone redeeming points?
I'm not aware of a divorce settlement going through, but everything else you mentioned, I have come across those. So I think you've pretty much, sounds like you've been worded up there. I think, we have had a gold bullion redeemed. We've had private jet flights up in Europe and in America. We basically effectively, managed the booking of the private jet, and obviously the payment was facilitated through the person's reward points. There's some cool stuff. Obviously the investment. We've had golf clubs. 80% of our points are probably redeemed through the airline partners. But in terms of those innovative, cool, different things. One of the first things that we ever had, which was pretty cool, which was a customer who had quite a lot of points. They redeemed for, I think the round numbers equivalent of something like $80,000 worth of whiskey, but it was 4 bottles.
Whoa.
So some pretty, I didn't even know that existed. I'm not a whiskey guy, but I was like, when I had to facilitate that, I was like, that's interesting. $25,000 plus bottles of whiskey. You didn't want to break them in the courier to the customer.
No, I think as long as they were drunk in the office too, that should be okay from a tax benefit point of view. Just drink them in the office. Make sure it was consumed on premises. Happy days.
Yeah, exactly.
One last major one here for you, and hopefully, it's not too hard to digress into. But you start a company like pay.com.au, you got some crazy brains involved, you scaled fast. From day one, was there an exit plan, or the talk around an exit plan, and the importance of having an exit plan? So for you, what does that look like, or how important has that been along the way too, to keep an exit plan in mind?
Yeah, look, it's a great question, and I think it's not a primary driver for existing or what we do, but obviously for myself coming from a mergers and acquisitions background, and the guys who are on the board, know all about it. They've exited businesses before, or as I said, been involved in this space. So, it's something that we have ideas and thoughts about, but it's not we don't make decisions based on that, obviously. But I think we have all options always on the table. We've got to deliver as a business first and foremost for our shareholders, and we're building something pretty exciting, delivering some great results with huge growth, etc. I'm not going to go into the details of what that might look like, but we, as at some stage, our shareholders will expect some sort of exit, I'd imagine, and there may be one, whether that's be part of a bigger thing in a similar space, whether that's in payments or we've seen what Afterpay have obviously done with how they've kind of evolved. There's obviously the public markets as an option, and there's multiple options. To be honest, it's not something we sit and talk about, albeit we know that eventually something is likely or probably will happen, just to take the business to the next level.
It's just good to get different businesses on. We're in SME land. Let's not beat around the bush. We're dealing with very different day-to-day things, and a business like Grant's is. So yeah, I think it's really cool and interesting, and at the same time, if we can add value to our loyal following of SMEs, have a look at pay.com.au. I think people should definitely do it. And the only other thing I'll mention is there is a business in the States, because I got confused here, called pay.com. So people need to make sure they're looking at pay.com.au. I saw it on Victor Hovland, who's a golfer. He's got pay.com sponsoring.
Yeah, I know. He thought,
Grant sponsored Victor Hovland, but so yeah, just need to clarify to put the .au in there.
If I was sponsored with Victor Hovland, I'd want to be on the Joe Rogan show or the Tim Ferriss show or something. No, I'm joking. Very happy to be on the numbers.
It's a pretty similar comparison, though. I'm sure we're getting similar numbers. Everyone, thanks for tuning in. Welcome. Thank you, Grant Austin, for joining us. As Nick said, if you haven't checked it out, pay.com.au, go and have a look. Connect with Grant Austin on LinkedIn as well. Grant's probably happy to hear from you if you want to reach out and have a chat about all things pay.com.au and business. But until next time, spends money, get rewards. Game over.